Hello everyone, my name is Ahmed Al Sais. In this video I am going to explain about Git or version control. Version control or Git is a tricky topic and it is very confusing for many people. I will talk personally, even me when I started my career as a developer, I was struggling a lot with version control. I was using a graphical user interface, but especially when you work in a collaborative environment where there are many other colleagues pushing and pulling from remote repository, it becomes like you get errors and you feel that you don't understand well the topic and you don't know how to act. So in this tutorial we will explain version control in a graphical manner, so you can see the structure of Git and how the files are moving from one level to another, and how we can control and invoke all these operations by using the command terminal. Okay, so let's start here. I will also use a Visual Studio Code just to visualize what we are doing. We will not use the graphical interface of Visual Studio Code, but we will just use it to visualize what we are doing. So I created a folder and I called it Git explained. So I will open this folder here. So now we are in this folder called Git explained, and here we will initiate our version control. But before doing anything, we just need to go and see what is version control and how it is working. Okay, so we will start with the structure of Git. Okay, and we will discuss later about the mechanism of operations inside this structure and how it works. First, you can divide when you are working on your local drive. You can divide the structure of Git between these three levels: the working directory, where files are untracked or it don't have like a tracking index. Okay, this is usually when just you are normally editing your files. And there is another level, like intermediate level, where it is called the staging area, where all files like have a tracking index. And the last level in this structure is the local repository, when your files is committed. And we mean by committing it that the files is registered as a version, so it is called the version control. That is what it do exactly. Like it with every modification, it is saved inside this Git structure as a specific version. You can go back to this version of modifications whenever you want by just using the hash number of the commit. Okay, and like you can see that this commit is arranged in a cascaded manner, as you can see here in this level. Okay, so first we will initiate a version control or initiate Git inside our folder, and we will know first how to work with the working directory, how to work on this level. Okay, so and we will see why it is divided among these levels, why it is divided to 3 levels instead of 2 levels as an example. So we have now the folder. Okay, We will just maximize. Yes, before doing anything to have a version control on your drive, you should first like install git. So say install git Windows 10 as an example, or whatever operating system you have. Press here and download the suitable git version for your operating system, whatever it is. So Windows as an example, and go through the normal process of installing it. Okay, once you finish installing git on your machine, go to any kind of terminal. I will use here this the terminal inside Visual Studio Code. I am inside this directory. Of course, you can do whatever you can. As an example, go to the the directory or the folder directly, and like just initiate PowerShell like by left shift and right click on the mouse, and you will get here, and you can do the same as we are doing, but we are using Visual Studio Code so we can see the changes in version control. Okay, and once you install the git or version control, it is better to restart your device, and you will get a tab here like source control, this tab. Okay, in this tab we will see the changes in the files and the different versions we are creating. Okay, here to initiate or start version control in a specific folder, just press git init. Okay, and this will initialize a version control inside this directory. Here they are saying initialized empty git repository in blah blah blah. Okay, so now git is initialized in your version control. Okay, so let's create a new file, and let us call it readme.md. Okay, and inside here, this is a tutorial for this is a tutorial on version control git. Okay, that's it, and just saving it. Okay, Control S, you can save your file. You can see here there are some kind of changes here. If we press here, you can see that there are changes, and it marked one that it means that you have only one file. It changed it, and now it is here inside this. Now you can see that Git is able to read the changes which made in the files inside a folder where you initiated a version control inside it. Okay, so now it reads that the file is in this level in the working directory, but it is untracked file. Okay, now if we want to move from this directory to the staging area, so giving this file a tracking index. So in this case, as you can see here, we can to stage the file, we can like add use this command git add. Okay, to do the reverse, we can do git reset. Okay, to unstage the file. Sorry for this mistake. This is to unstage all files, git reset. Git add dot, it will add all the files which in this directory. As we say it, we are in the working directory. Let's always have this habit. Use git status to check the status of your directory. Okay, so it says that you have untracked file which you called readme. Okay, so let's create another file, and we will say we will see that. Let's create another file, sample.js, okay, and we will say that console dot log as an example, console.log, and we will say work hard, okay, something like this, and just closing, okay, and saving. Now if I in the terminal, if I pressed again good status and I will see that I have to untrack the file, okay. I can add or move the file from a specific file from working directory to staging area by using this command git add, okay, and then mention the name of the file like readme, okay. Readme, okay, it says that readme is not defined because I didn't include the extension of the file, so say git add readme dot md, okay. Now it is added to, we moved this file from working directory to staging area. Let's check by entering get status, okay. We can see that we have only now readme in the staging area with a tracking index, but this file sample.js, it is untracked file, okay. If we want to undo this or get reset, you just need to just get reset, okay, and it will bring back let's see with using get status. Now we have the two files again in the working directory untracked, okay. Adding all the file git add dot, this will add all the files. Let's check by using get status, okay. By using get status we have all the files now like tracked in the staging area, okay, and the files is ready to be committed as a change, as our first version for changes in this directory, okay. So this is how it works. Now we can, before going and showing how to move the files from staging area to the local repository in a commit message, we should know some other things like why there is some kind of intermediate level like this. Usually when you work on a project like you can have like caches and like unnecessary and unneeded files, which you can get rid of it by using git clean dn. So for this I will just, instead of dn, just use df, and here to unstage all the files, okay. So here get clean df, we will see what we mean. So now we have all the files tracked. To get it back again to the working directory, git reset, okay. So by using get status we have the files untracked again, okay. Or yeah, we can git add all and create another file. We will call this as an example another sample, or sample2, simply sample2.js as an example. We will say console.log hello world as an example, anything. Okay, and we will save this. Okay, now you can notice that we have two files tracked, readme and sample, and we have untracked file which is sample too. Let's check by using get status. You can see that we have all the files tracked except the last one. Okay, and you know, if we want to add the untracked file, just use get add dot, it will add any untracked file. But let's assume that you are working on a project and you had already tracked the needed files, the files which you need for your project, and the other files in your folder or on your directory is unneeded, and it is just like caches, and you don't need it anymore, and it is just a burden in your project. So you can clean your directory by removing any kind of untracked files. Let's say that this is untracked file and it is a not needed file, and if you have any other kind of files which is untracked and you already tracked the files which you need for your project, you can use clean or get clean. Let's see what will happen. Get clean df, and let's see what it will do. Okay, can you see now? It just kept the tracked files and it removed any kind of untracked files. Okay, so let's see by get status again. So now you have just these files and the other untracked files is not existing. Sample2 simply is deleted. You cannot find it here in the directory. But of course you should, if you are working on a project, you should keep always the habit of using .getignore. So just create a file called .getignore. Okay, .getignore, and inside this file put any kind. Let's say this is environment. Okay, as an example, this is a folder called environment, and you are telling getignore to escape or to ignore any kind of files inside this folder which called environment. Okay, so let's here say create a folder and call it environment. Okay, and inside this one we will create a file which called like test. Okay, test the .js as an example, and here we will simply in this directory called another file which called additional.js. okay, and we will take this copy. Okay, additional, and in getignore you said that any files in such environment it will be escaped, and also you are saying that instead of JS, like, sorry for this, just rename, let it be text file as an example. Okay, and inside the getignore you will say that any file with this extension, this is how it works, .text, any file with text extension, it will be ignored. It means that version control will not be able to read this or track these files. It is, simply Git or version control is blind about this kind of files, text files or any files inside environment. So version control can't see it. Okay, So by saving this, okay, you can see here in Visual Studio that these files became like black with a black font, which mean like Git cannot read these files. Okay, that is why we are using Visual Studio. We can do all the things which we needed by using any command terminal, because we are using the command terminal, but we just using something like this. But we are using Visual Studio just to demonstrate what is happening. Okay, this is exactly using this terminal as using the normal terminal on your machine. Okay, so this is how it is done. Okay, so if we run again, like if we run get status, can you see it says that .get ignore is untracked file. So for making this, you can see we created additional and we created test, but version control can't read these files because it is inside .get ignore. Okay, to add all files, git add plus, and using get status again, we can see that we have now these files tracked. Okay, if we run again this clean df as an example, get clean df and press, it will not remove anything because we don't have any untracked files. Okay, let's check by using get status. We have these files tracked. Okay, now as we saw why we have this intermediate level or intermediate stage, we will now move to the other level here, which is about git commit, like committing the changes we did to be registered in the local repository. Okay, so to make this, you have files now. We have now 3 files in the staging area. We want to move this to the local repository. Okay, so we will just enter git commit and m double, and this is the string mark, and here this say that my first commit. Okay, and just by entering this, it will commit all the changes, and you can see here anymore these 3, the number 3, which mark like the files under modifications. Okay, count the number of files under modification. So simply now we have this first commit. If we get status, okay, to check, there is no files to commit. The working tree is clean. Okay, so now we committed our moved our files from this staging area to the local repository, and now we have the first version of our modification or our creation in our working space or inside our project. Okay, we want to make another file and like commit it by 2 or it changing another file. Okay, so let's as an example like create another file, new file, and call it sample3 dot js as an example. Okay, I don't know why I made it sample3. Simply we can keep it sample2 to keep it consistent, and say console dot log, and say like keep programming practice as an example. Okay, and say and save it, and now we created one file. Okay, let's modify in another file. In this file, instead of work hard, we will say that work smart. Okay, work smart. Okay, and once we save, we have now, you will find that we have two changed files. Let's check by using get status. As you can see here, we have two files untracked, sample and sample2. Okay, just to add all, so get add dot or dot, so this will add all the files. Using get status again to check, now you have all the files staged and it is inside this staging area. Okay, it is with a tracking index. To make another commit, we will say, as we learned before, get commit get commit m. Okay, and say second commit. Okay, and we will press enter. Now we have all. Okay, now we have all the files committed, and we can check by using get status. The branch, the working tree is clean, nothing to commit anymore. Okay, so now we have two commits. Okay, just by making any kind of sample, keep let's make another, keep the habit, as an example, keep the habit keep the habit of programming practice and modifying the files. So now we have one change, like committing this change in a third commit as an example. Okay, third commit, and entering it. Okay, now commits, because I didn't get these files to be tracked, get add, and using get third commit, now I have the changes committed. As you can see here, now I have three versions of my modifications in this project. I have three commits, and every commit has a hash number. Let's how to check all these commits and to have all these versions available in front of me. You can do this by using this getref log. Okay, by using getref log, it will give you all the commits which you did inside your machine. Okay, so let's see here by using get ref log. Okay, and press enter. Now you can see here we have three commits. Okay, third commit, second commit, my first commit, and every commit has a hash number, or every registration for a specific files of a specific version of my modifications is registered by a specific number here. Okay, what is the importance of this hash number? You can use these hash numbers to check or inspect the modifications which you did in a specific command. Okay, so as an example, I want to see what I have done in this second commit. So you can, by using get dev, you can check the modifications you made in a specific commit, and after this just enter the number of this the hash number of the commit. Okay, this one as an example, and press enter. You can see here you get a result that you modified sample2.js. It says that you have just, in this case, you changed one file like keep programming practice and converted it to keep the habit of programming practice. Okay, And let's check what we did in the third commit. Okay, usually if you get this, okay, entering this number. Okay, so as you can see here, because if, always the first commit is it is initial commit, so this is it simply like any changes you did in the first commit is not, you cannot check it. It is the version control is blind about it, but you just check these two commits as the commits which like you can track the changes you did in this commits by using this. Okay, as you can see here in this commit, it is when we add just like keep the habit of programming practice, when we added the habit of programming practice, so it says simple that we modified this file. Okay, so that is how it works. Ever the first commit, or what it is called the initial commit, you cannot inspect it. That is why when you inspect this one or this one, head 1 or head 2, it will give you the changes you did, but the one in this commit, it will not give you nothing. Okay, that's it. And in something else if you wanted, and this is the power of version control. Simply like you are making modifications all the time, and we in this get log you have the reference or the data log for the changes you did. And when you like you are not satisfied about your current situation of the project and you want to go to a specific version, so we can simply reset our directory to this version as an example. Okay, so as an example, let's reset our directory or our project to this one. Okay, to ever the first commit without and ignore the commits which we did after this. Okay, let's take this copy. Okay, and use get reset. Okay, get reset hard. Okay, and enter the hash number of the commit where you want your directory to go and reset everything you have done to this first version. Okay, I took this the number of this hash number. Okay, and I put it here. Okay, so press enter. Okay, head is now at this hash number, my first commit. Okay, so can you see here? Now I have sample, I don't have sample 2.js, and I don't have any kind of working a different directory. And here in sample it is work hard, not work smart. Everything reversed and returned back to its original position at the initial commit or the first commit. So this is the power of this of using version control. You are not worried about messing up with your project or your directory, because you can always go back to a specific version or a specific project. However, you should be aware and you should focus that using a get reset hard is a dangerous option, especially when you are working in a collaborative environment. I mean, like you are working with another colleagues, you are not working alone, and you are pushing and pulling from remote repository, and we will learn about the remote repository, but now we are working on your local drive. Okay, so just try to avoid git reset as possible as you can, and instead you can use git revert just to reverse the changes you did in a specific commit. So let's say that in a specific commit you made some kind of changes and you want to reverse these changes. So it is better to use git revert because it will reverse the changes in this commit and it will put it as another commit. Here as an example, like you want to reverse this commit, okay, you will reverse the changes you made in this version and it will add it as a new commit, like commit number 4 as an example. Okay, so in this case you will keep your directory synced, and everything is organized well, so you can collaborate with your colleagues in a correct manner. Okay, let's use git revert, and with git revert you are using git revert and using the commit hash as an example. So let's, after we made the changes, let's again like work hard and smart so we modified this this file, and readme we will say this is a tutorial on version control using different commands. Okay, something like this, and saving we will have 2 files saved. Okay, so just to clear all this mess, like using a clear command in the terminal, it will clear your terminal. Using get status, as we learned it, you have 2 files unstaged or untracked. To add it all, git add all, like so, and using get status. Just if you want to go back to the previous commands, use the arrow up and the arrow down to just navigate to the previous commands you used. Okay, that is what I did exactly. Now we have the files tracked. Just we wanted to commit these changes in a new commit, so commit git commit, and using okay here, and here we will to test revert okay, and just we had already committed the changes. Okay, using git reflog to check the changes we have done. Okay, so we are here commit to test revert. This is the last commit we have done. Okay, we made some changes. Okay, and you want to reverse these changes back to its original position. Okay, so let's inspect what you have done by using git git def, and I don't remember correctly if we are using this hash number or the other one, but let's see together. Okay, we are using to check these changes, use this ref number. Okay, so git def and use this one. Okay, this is the changes which we done, like we changed it. This is a tutorial on version control using different commands, and the other file instead of work hard and smart. This is exactly the changes we have done. We want to reverse these changes. Okay, so we will make the operations on on the last commit we have done this commit. Okay, so this is the last one. Okay, so let's see together what will happen. Git revert. Okay, and enter the hash number for the last commit you have done, and let's see what will happen. Okay, can you see? Now we have two files here. Let's see here what happened. Revert to test revert. This reverts commit with hash number blah blah blah, and it gives you this here. As you can see, it opened me a new window and waiting for your editor to close the file. Okay, so it says it changes to be committed here. Okay, and so this is a staged file. Okay, changes in the readme here. It reverses the commits. As you can see here, it removed the last sentence we have added in previously, and it restored the original text, and here it restored also the original text. Now they are saying waiting for your editor to close the file. Okay, so just we don't need to have this and closing this. Okay, so now if we pressed git, now it is already, I think it is reversed. Git status, nothing to commit. Let's see git reflog. Okay, as you can see here, there is a new commit here, like this commit with this hash number, and it say revert to test revert. It says that it reverted this commit to test revert. Okay, here, and it put it in another commit. Okay, so this is the power of course, if you wanted to just enter a new message or a commit message, it was possible through the screen popped up in front of us, but we just wanted to show that it reverses the changes and put it in another commit. Okay, so now by doing this, we had already learned how the transition is done from between these different levels in your local drive. Okay, so the last thing we will check that when you are working in the working directory, you didn't move your files to the staging area or the log, and you want to just to reverse the changes you have done before moving to the staging areas or the local repository. In this case, you can just use something called git checkout. Let's have an example of this. Okay, you just now this is our current situation. Okay, I will just clear the command. Okay, so git clear. Instead of work hard, we will say that work smart. Okay, work smart. And now, sorry, smart, and we will save the changes. Okay, now we have, if we pressed git status, okay, now we have one untracked files. Okay, so if you made any kind of changes in your working directory and you want to reverse the changes you have done, just simply by using git checkout, okay, and using this command, like instead of using the name of the file, you can do this if you want to reverse the changes for a specific file. But if you had like multiple changes and you want to reverse all the changes you have done, you can use checkout dot in the end. Okay, by using this, like you can see, the changes is reversed. Okay, this is really very helpful. Instead of, if you made some mistakes and you want to discard all the changes you have done in your repository before moving before committing these changes and like increasing the versions inside your local repository, just from the beginning or from the start, you can just ignore or discard these changes again in your working directory before moving to higher levels. Okay, so this is really very helpful command, and it can help you when you made some mistakes and you want to return back to your original situation. Now the moment of truth, when we started to complicate the things more and move from the local repository to remote repository. Okay, when you are working in a team, especially like you are working on Git, and this is, yeah, the main purpose or the main objective of using Git or version control, that it can coordinate, that you can coordinate your work with your colleagues. You will have like a remote repository. The remote repository in this case is this GitHub, as an example, GitHub. So GitHub, okay. So this is it, the world's leading software development platform. Just you need to sign up and create account in GitHub. I already have account, that is why I will sign in. And once you will sign in, like this is my repositories as an example, and I will create a new repository, the repository which we created in our file. So in this case I will create new repository. Okay, so in this repository it will we will say that it is Git explained, like we will name it exactly as the name of this one, Git explained. Okay, Git explained, okay, and explaining the descriptions, explaining version control, or explaining the use of version control. Okay, and I will leave it public. If you are working on a private project and you don't want anyone to see it, use private. Like I will not initialize anything, like yep, containing all okay. So in this case, create a repository. Okay, we don't need to add anything here. Okay, so here, if you have, like, as in our case, you created a local repository and you want to add a remote repository, this remote repository we have created, you need just to follow the instructions here. So simply, like we created a local repository, so push an existing repository from the command line. Okay, so first we will in our local repository we'll connect it with our remote repository. That is why we are using git remote add origin and mentioning the URL of the remote repository here. Okay, sorry, so here as an example, and press enter. So now git remote has added, we added the remote repository. Going to the second comment, just this is syncing our local repository with our remote repository, because this is here, like this is it. Okay, and using the last one, git push, which will do this exactly. It, by using this command, it will push our commits and our changes to the remote repository, which we had already created on this website. Okay, so by using this command, okay, control copy, using it inside our terminal and pushing it, now you can see what is happening. Now it is pushing the changes which we did to the remote repository. Now just go to your repository here, this is it, and just refresh the page. Now you can see you have all the files which you have in your local repository. Get ignore readme sample. Okay, this is it, sample readme get ignore. Of course you didn't get this file pushed or this, because we added this already to get ignore, as you remember. So version control cannot see it, so that is why it is not pushed to the remote repository. Okay, now we have the remote repository. This is the mechanism how it works. Like, you are using git push to push the commits on your local repository to the remote repository. Okay, and you can pull, like, if as an example there is another colleague of yours and he is working in the same project, and he like making a commits, this commits like is pushed from his site to this remote repository. To for you to get the updates which like developed or created by your colleague, you need to make git pull. Okay, so in this case you will download the changes from the remote repository in your local repository, and it will be merged inside your local drive. That is what is exactly what happens. That is why you are using git push and git pull in this situation. Okay, now let's make some changes here and see how you are doing this git pull and git push. So as an example, we will create a new file, and new file we will say sample2.js as an example, and we will say console.log hello programmer. Okay, and we will save this as an example, control S. Okay, so now you have some changes. Let's do again git status, okay, to see what you have done. Now you have untracked files. To add all files you need, git add, okay, dot, it will, everything will be added using get status. It is tracked now. Now you want to commit these changes, git commit, okay, and using the string, and enter the commit message, remote updating as an example, and committing the changes. Now the change is committed. After the changes, now the change is committed to your local repository. You want to push it to the remote repository. What are you going to do? You will just use git push to push this new commit to the remote repository here, to be here on this website. Okay, so just like git, as you can see here, as in Visual Studio, it says that you have now one commit need to be pushed to your remote repository, because as we say now, the remote repository is connected or synced with your local repository. So by using git push, okay, what is happening now, it was pushing the changes you made locally to this remote repository on your in your remote one. Okay, so now let's see on the website if this is true and we have these new files created and pushed. Okay, refresh. Now you can see sample.js, inside it console log hello programmer. Okay, so this is how it works. Okay, let's say that someone like your friend or your colleague like had some changes to a specific file. As an example, in this file sample.js, instead of work hard, he changed it, or he makes some modifications and edited, and these modifications became like work hard, instead of work hard, work smart. Okay, and just like we just like emulating a changes made by your colleague. Okay, and we will this committed changes, we will say that this changes is it changes from remote repository. Okay, okay, so we will commit these changes. Now we have now it changes this file, or a file inside this directory from the remote repository, and we need it to be here. We made the changes in the remote repository, and we need to get these changes on our local drive inside this inside your machine. What are you going to do? You will do git pull to know if there are any kind of changes waiting for you. But before git pull, okay, uh, so let's see here. As you can see in our Visual Studio Code, this mark, you can see there is arrow down and there is one. It means that there are one commit is waiting for you to pull from the remote repository. It means this exactly. So in your local drive, as you can see here in this sample, it is still work hard, but the changes we did in the remote repository, it was this work smart, but it is not updated yet on our local drive. So just by using git pull, let's see what will happen. Can you see it changed work smart because it pulled the changes from the remote repository. Okay, this is how it works. Now we this is the situation now, and it says that it is updated the sample.js. Okay, using git ref log. Okay, can you see here now? Fast forward, remote updating. Okay, it says that the last commit was pulling this commit from your remote repository. Okay, so now we will see the last scenario, or the last issue which might be happen. I will say discard. Okay, and the last issue which will happen might be happen when you are working. Let's assume that we have a scenario where you are making some updates on your local drive system. Okay, here, and you want to push these changes, and by coincidence your colleague who are working on the same project of you, like making some changes to the same file you made a changes for. Okay, so simply you and your colleague made a changes in the same file. Okay, so in this case, when you are pushing your updates and when he pushing or when she pushes her updates, how for version control or forget to decide on which changes or modifications to consider. Should Git consider your modifications or his modification? In this case, like there is something called it is some kind like a backup thing or a backup space where the changes you have done in your working directory, you can move your changes or your modification to this backup space until you are pulling the changes from the remote repository and registered on your local drive. Then you can call back the modifications or the changes from this backup space again to your working directory and moving it or transitioning it to the remote repository. This is how it works simply. And in this case, like you will have like some kind of conflict, but this will give you the option to decide on what decision you should make. Like you should consider your changes or your colleague changes. Of course it will mark the changes for you. Okay, so in this case we are using these stash commands like git stash or git stash pop stash to just like move the modifications from your working directory to this backup space or the stashing area. And it is really beneficial when you are working on some modifications and your colleague working on another modifications on the same file. Okay, so simply like git or the version control system cannot decide by itself which changes should be considered. Like it should changes your modification or his modification or both of your modifications if you are modifying on the same file but in a different positions of the file and different codes inside the one file. Okay, so let's consider a conflict scenario and see how we can work with this. Okay, so let's say that you have now this file like work smart. Now our repository is clean. Git status, if we git status, okay, and pressed, everything is clean and synced with the local, with the remote repository, and everything is okay. Okay, so let's say that you modified this to say work smart and hard. Okay, work smart and hard. And you had and you saved these changes, and inside this one inside instead of here hello programmer, you said hello developer as an example. Okay, so and you saved these changes, so you have now two files waiting for, so git status. Okay, you have two files and track, and you want to and in the same time you get a mark that there one pull changes needed to be made in your file. So let's assume that in the remote repository, okay, here before you pushing your changes, your colleague was working on the same time, and he made like some changes here, like he edited this file, like instead of okay, instead of this one work smart, he said work smart as an example all the time. Okay, and okay, get explained as an example in the same in this. We didn't commit the changes, so let's say here in this sample JS, or instead of sample JS we will use this. Instead of hello programmer, we said hello developer. You will change this to hello world as an example. Okay, so you made some changes to this file. Okay, so your colleague made some changes to the remote repository, and he committed these changes with yes, updating sample2. So update sample2 with hello world. This is his commit. Okay, so and he committed these changes. Okay, so now you have a changes ready to be considered. Okay, okay, so this is it, and we will go back again to our repository, and here you can see you have already one polling needed to be done, but you had already changed your files. What in this case, the right thing or the right methodology which you should follow to tackle this situation, that you should like send this your changes to the backup space here until you pull the changes from the remote repository. Okay, so by to push these changes to the backup space or the staging area, like to have this file, you just need to make git stash. Okay, git stash, this is right, yeah, but I have git stash. Okay, so now you have your modifications, like you can see that it disappeared because it moved to this backup space, and now there are no any kind of conflicts can be made to your repository, so you can just make git pull. Okay, git pull. Okay, now you pulled the changes. Can you see here it becomes here console.log hello world, because this is the changes made by your colleague from the remote repository, the things which we made here. Sample.js, we made it like not this one, sample2.js, we made hello world. Okay, so in this case, you send your changes to the backup space or the staging area. Okay, and you want to get these changes back, so you will say git stash bob. Okay, can you see here now? Can you see there are some changes here? It marked that there are two pending changes, and there is some kind of conflict in your local directory. You type the hello developer, and from the remote repository your colleague like typed hello world. So in this case it says for you accept current change, or accept incoming change, or accept post changes. Okay, current change, the changes which made by your colleague. Incoming change, the changes which made by you. So you should decide on this situation by accepting a specific, and it gives you a really good comparison about what happened from his side and from your side. Okay, so simply by I will, as an example, accept incoming change. I will accept my changes. Okay, so now it is now console.log hello developer. Okay, so now we reserved the conflict. We don't have a conflict on the other file. Let's see here. Okay, so this is so we will use get status to see the situation more clearly. So we have now sample.js. It is in the staging area, but this one sample2.js, the one which has like the conflict, it is still untracked file. So just get add all, it will add all the changes. Get status. Okay, get status, it will give us all the files in the chat. Now everything is resolved, and we can now, after resolving this kind of conflict, we can push our changes safely from our local drive to the remote repository. So simply now we can just get commit, okay, and message using we resolved the conflict. Okay, now we resolved the conflict, and you can commit the changes. Now the changes has been already committed, and once it is committed, like you can use git push. As you can see here, you have one push is waiting, and no commits polling is waiting for you. So you can press git push safely, and now the situation is clear, and simply it gives you like a freedom to decide on this conflict how to act. So you can accept your changes or your friend changes. Okay, so this is how it works. Now if we get ref log, okay, now everything is committed, like we resolved the conflict, and you had already pulled the changes from the remote repository, and everything is settled and everything is okay. Okay, so just enter to exit it. Okay, so the last thing we will see together, I will clear the screen. Okay, the last thing we will see that we will see how to clear the backup space or the staging area, this space, and how to see the number of stages which we have done. Okay, exactly. Okay, so git, in this case we are using this git stage show to see that we made the stages, and we can use git stage clear to clear the stages. Okay, so let's press git stage show. Okay, you can see here in this stage there is this sample, because we pushed our changes related to sample and sample2 to the backup space when we were managing this conflict. Okay, and it is there, and every time you are pushing changes to the backup space and pulling from it, you will have this history for the stashes which you have done. Okay, so just if you wanted to clear this backup space, like you will say that git stash, okay, git stash clear. Okay, simply like this. Now if we press again git stash show, let's see, no stash entry sound. Now you cleared the history of this backup space. Okay, so this simply works like this, and this is in my opinion on and in from my experience, the main thing is if you are if you follow it to work with this version control thing, it will not be confusing, or at least you will take like a shorter, really shorter time to have really good grasp and good command of this technology, and it will not I hope that it will not be confusing anymore. I uh, I really hope that you get something added from this value, and it has like a good information for you. If you liked it, please like the video and share it with your friends. Is breed knowledge, and keep practicing all the time. Thank you so much for taking time to watch this video. Bye.